Hello, and welcome to We Will Manage, the podcast exploring the weird and wonderful world of work. We are two young professionals figuring out our careers one conversation at a time. And today we're talking about the Sunday Scaries.
So stick around to learn that you're just taking revenge on yourself, how loving your job isn't the antidote, and why we're all just looking to see mum's reaction.
Right, Bean.
Yes.
I am very interested to hear your take on today's episode. So today we're going to be talking about mainly the Sunday Scaries, which is a concept that I discovered this year, relatively recently, I think. And then the equivalent of kind of every evening. So first of all, do you know what the Sunday Scaries are?
I think we have talked about it before, but I didn't before then. So it's not really a concept that I am too familiar with. What I think it is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you kind of feel anxious and dread the next day.
That's exactly what it is.
It isn't really something that I have much experience with. I've maybe dreaded a specific meeting or specific thing I've got to do the next day, but it's not, I dread just having to work tomorrow, which I think is more what it is.
In a way, yeah. So maybe I could tell you how I discovered this concept. So it was this year that I discovered the concept. So to put into context, at the end of last year, I was feeling very anxious about work in general. I wouldn't say I was close to burning out, but I was definitely on my way there. Based mainly on the pressure I was putting on myself, not necessarily the pressure that came from the job. But that's a totally different subject. Since beginning of the year, I'm much healthier. I have a much healthier relationship with work. I don't struggle as much with too much stress related to what I'm doing at work, in work itself, etc. But I still have this thing that was happening to me relatively often, which was, I didn't really know what it was. So it would get to, and I think it's rooted in many different things, which is why I was really interested in the topic to talk about it on the podcast. So it would get to kind of Sunday, maybe even Sunday morning, but usually it's like Sunday mid-afternoon, and you've been waiting for the weekend, for the whole week. Yeah. You're like, oh, I can't wait till Friday. And then you have a great time on Friday evening, and you're like, oh, tomorrow's Saturday. I've got all the time in the world. And then you have a great Saturday. And then Sunday rolls around. Even just sometimes getting up for breakfast and having like pancakes for breakfast, I was already thinking, it's Monday tomorrow, you know?
Yeah.
And not only was it a thought, but it would turn into anxiety in the afternoon, you know? Like I would get more difficult. I would feel worse, which means you just lose the enjoyable Sunday evening because of whatever this is. So I think I looked it up. I think either I looked it up or I heard the term and it really caught my attention. Yeah. So I looked up what Sunday Scaries were, and obviously I've looked up the actual definition. But basically, the Sunday Scaries that can also be called the Sunday Blues, Sunday Dread, and it's basically dread. Or it's either dread about the fact that the next day is Monday, so your working week starts again. Or it can also be regret of feeling like you haven't made the most of your weekend. Like, I've been waiting for this the whole week, and now it's the weekend, and now I feel like I haven't used it. I haven't done the things I wanted to do, and I'm regretting that the weekend is now coming to an end. So psychologically, this is either anticipatory anxiety. So you're either you're either getting anxiety because of the anticipation of the next day being Monday and the next day starting the working week, or you're feeling anxious about not having made the most of the past. So the past 48 hours. In any case, you're not living in the moment. So that's this concept of Sunday Scaries, and it's something that happens to quite a lot of people, even if they don't know of it as a concept in itself. But there have been studies that have been done on the Sunday Scaries by, for example, a company called Fast Company, which said that 75% of workers experience Sunday Scaries.
Oh, wow.
A massive number of people are kind of losing their Sunday evening to anxiety about the next day. Of these 75% of workers, 50 of them feel the Sunday Scaries before 5 p.m. So you're losing a good chunk of your day to anxiety. And something that I found really interesting, because like I said, I have a pretty good relationship with work currently, but I still experience this. In fact, I think last Sunday I felt the twinge, and which is what kind of motivated me to prep this episode. Like, for example, my partner would say, what would he say? Something about, Sunday evening or tomorrow's Monday or something. And I just don't even mention it, really reactive.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, why? Why am I still feeling this when I feel like I'm dealing with work stress so much better? So another stat is that 90% of very unhappy workers report Sunday Scaries, but 48% of happy workers also report this.
That is so interesting. And a question to you, do you then, when you wake up Monday, are you waking up with anxiety like on your way to work? Or is it like, it's Monday now, so you're just like, you're fine, you're in your work week, it's whatever. Yeah, so it's not even like it carries on into Monday.
It's honestly the feeling of the weekend is ending,
Over. Yeah.
And have I made the most? I think for me, it's a lot more about the topic of what you spend your personal time on and how that's coming to an end. And maybe I feel like I'm in control of the time where I spend my time during the weekend. And then from Monday, I'm a lot less in control of that. So that makes me anxious. So something else I looked into, because this sometimes can also happen in the evenings, like not just Sundays.
Yeah.
It can happen any night of the week, where it's actually happened to me a couple times, where it'll be, let's say, 10 p.m., which is kind of the time that I would like to be starting to get ready for bed. And I just feel so frustrated. Like, I don't want to go to bed yet, because tomorrow will come quicker, and then I just have to do it all over again, And for somebody that, in theory, has a much better relationship with work stress, it doesn't sound like it's working.
Yeah.
So I also looked into this, and that's also a known concept, which actually went a bit viral in 2020, 2021. So we can imagine that COVID and being at home and these fuzzy lines that we were talking about last week between work life and personal life got very fuzzy. This concept called revenge bedtime procrastination. So,
okay.
And this is something I can really relate to. So basically, you are intentionally delaying your sleep, even though you know that you should be going to bed, because I think that's why it makes it so anxious. Because I know that I want to be going to bed to get enough sleep so that I'm happy tomorrow, because if I'm tired, then I'm not going to enjoy, I'm not going to be able to work hard and not even be able to enjoy the things that I do that I enjoy. But I delay bedtime because I feel like that's when I'm in control of my time, and I kind of need to get revenge back on the fact that I haven't had that much choice during the day. The simple fact that maybe I wanted to listen to a voice note of a friend or reply to a voice note, I just haven't had the chance. And it's like, you want to get revenge back on whoever has put you in that situation, which is you.
Yeah. So I'm going to punish myself and not
getting
sleep.
Revenge back. Yeah. Exactly. It makes no sense. But it's a concept that exists, and the concept itself, so the term originated in China, went viral in 2020. But this is something that I can relate back to when I first moved to France, for example, for the first time. So I was in an exchange year. So I was learning a new language. I was learning chemistry in this new language. And
as you do.
Exactly. And I would get up, only for the first few months, I would get up at like 4 a.m. to go through my coursework and make sure that I understood all the words, so that I could then go to class.
I want to give you a big hug.
So I would do this. I would get up at 4 a.m. I would go through my coursework to make sure I understood all the words. I would go to class, and then I would spend all day, because they were quite long class days. There was a lot less independent study, but then obviously I would go home and then go through anything that I hadn't understood. And then it got to a point where I remember I would go to bed like half an hour earlier, just because I felt like I didn't have time to think during the day. Because I was just so busy and just constantly working on things.
Yeah. And your brain having to work overtime already in something that was hard. You're having to do it in a different language. So it was just like so stimulated.
So that's kind of an example of the kind of situation which would take you to this sleep procrastination or revenge bedtime procrastination. I think at that time it didn't really affect that, but I remember thinking, gosh, I don't have time to think until I go to bed, you know?
Yeah.
So I think an extension of that is when that goes into your work life. You can totally understand why people would get to 10 p.m. at night and be like, I don't want to go to sleep yet because I'm just going to have to do it all again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then you'll either scroll on your phone or watch some Netflix or do something that you enjoy. Maybe even it's just an activity, like do some painting but that then pushes back your bedtime and then you get sleep deprivation and all of the bad things.
Yep. And then it snowballs.
So that's the topic.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm here for it. I feel like this one I'm going to learn a lot because I'm trying to think and I don't know if so you're saying that for you, it kind of, a big part of it is that you feel like you haven't got as much independence with what you do with your day when you start your work week. Whereas obviously I do have that. I make my own schedule. So if I really do feel like I can allow myself to, for whatever reason, not start work till midday the next day, which is a Monday, because the weekend hasn't gone to plan or whatever, I can do that more often than not. Obviously, sometimes not, but I do have a bit of say. So it's not as rigid as it's Sunday and I've had to have taken advantage of this weekend because tomorrow starts work. My work weeks look very different, and I do kind of have to be on during the week because that's when people expect you to be responsive, but I don't need to be sat at a desk working. I just need to be responsive to clients. So I do have a lot more flexibility with that, which is maybe why I haven't felt that. Like I said, the extent that I can relate to it with is with specific. So it's not the fact that tomorrow's Monday, it's maybe that I've got that meeting with a client that I know is being difficult and I know isn't happy and I'm really dreading it. And I'm like, I really don't want to do this tomorrow. That's the closest kind of feeling that I can associate it to, but it's nothing compared to everything you're saying. So I feel like it's going to be very interesting for me to learn about this and about an insight of what that looks like.
Yeah, I think it's a super good example, because obviously I've then started looking into this and what it can stem from and what kind of people suffer it. And so both comes down to kind of the same. It's the same sensation, just it's either tomorrow's Monday or tomorrow's tomorrow and I have to do it all again. But the people that suffer from it the most are the people that don't feel like they have control of their time. So I think for you, it's very possible that you're working longer days overall, but at least you know that you're in control of that. Like if you want to start at 8:30 and then go on until 8:30 p.m, you can do that. Yeah. Whereas I think working a normal office job where you have fixed timetables, or I don't know if the flexible timetables would do much, because you still have to do your hours.
You still have to.
So the people that suffer from it the most are people that are in high stress jobs, because then just the job itself is stressing you out, and then obviously your body's rejecting that. But mainly, and I think this is probably more my case, is feeling like you're maybe less in control of where you spend your time during your working week. And then you kind of want to get revenge on that by being in full control of your personal time, but you can only do so much. So you have to balance that with sleep, and it's a very big topic. So maybe for the revenge bedtime procrastination, the definition is intentionally delaying sleep for leisure, even when tired, and it's common in people that don't feel in control of their time. It's a way to regain personal time and control after busy, demanding days. So if it gets to 10 p.m. and it's the first time you've been able to stop and do something that you want to do, or it's something that you choose to do. It's not necessarily something you want to do, because lots of people get the Sunday Scaries and they start cleaning the house on Sunday evening because they feel like
it hasn't been done.
Something I've chosen to do.
Yeah. It's funny, as you're talking, I, especially this, definitely have no experience with it. I love my bedtime. And I would go to bedtime. I would go to bed at like after dinner at like 8 p.m. if I could. If I didn't have people around me wanting to like do plans with me.
Do stuff.
Yeah, I know. But my partner, he definitely, and I'd never realized until I'm hearing you like explain it, define it, whatever. He definitely has that. He will have days where he is very consumed with client demands that weren't like organized, like weren't supposed to happen that day. So I'm not emergency, because it's not an emergency, but they've just come out of the blue. So then it gets to
spontaneous,
it gets to after dinner time, and I'm like, I can't wait to switch off, and he's like, I haven't been able to do anything that I meant to do today. And that sometimes is personal things, but a lot of the time is even like work things that he just like really had in his mind he was going to get done and hasn't been able to do it. And yeah, he will just get really anxious about it and not want to go to bed and want to like, you'll be like, if you want to go to bed and I'm going to do this. And so yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Well, that there you go. Now you know.
Yeah. Now I know. I will tell him to listen to this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely does come from more of a control place. Like I say, I'm a lot better these days. Last year, for example, or maybe a couple of years ago, I've always been, I mean, we'll talk about this on a whole other episode about how you organize your personal time and how you put your pressure on yourself to make the most of every single second, especially when you feel like you have less of control of where you put your time and energy during your work hours. But it got to a point where if I, for example, were going to buy something from somebody from Facebook Marketplace, it sounds like a very specific example, but it's a thing that I have in my mind, at which point I thought, okay, I need to do something about this. But the great thing about Facebook Marketplace is that you get great offers.
Not an ad.
And you can find some great things on there. Not an ad. Because the bad thing about Facebook Marketplace is that you're talking to human beings that don't really care about you or your life. And if they can sell something to you, then they will. And if not, then 20 euros less, they don't really care. Yeah. So it happened to me a couple times that I would kind of book a meeting time with somebody to buy something. And then they either wouldn't turn up, or they would be an hour late, or they would have sent me the wrong notation or something like this. And like a stupid little thing where you could be like, this person's really annoying, but you would just deal with it. It would ruin my day, but to an extent that it was like, you've stolen my time. How dare you? I wouldn't say any of this. I would just be like, okay, bye. But in my body.
Yeah.
Exactly. It would honestly bring me to tears of how frustrating it was, or any little thing like that kind of would set me back by half an hour in my day. It would ruin me. It would, so I'm not as much like that now. It can sometimes get like that, but it definitely shows that, feeling that control over your time, and where you put your time, especially when you don't feel that control during your working hours, is a big thing. And I think that's what makes me quite prone to feeling Sunday Scaries or whatever, bedtime, revenge, procrastination, is because you feel like that's when you have the control, and feeling, I guess the Sunday Scaries is more like, that control is leaving me. Have I made the most of it? And tomorrow's another day where I don't have control of my own time. Yeah. And then same for the evening, like now is the time where I can choose what I want to do. And often the problem is you're creating so much anxiety in your body that when you are going through that, you don't do anything useful. You don't do anything creative. You don't enjoy the time.
Yeah. I guess it also kind of comes down to what we have already discussed that we want to do as an episode, which is maybe not feeling like we've been productive enough, even if that, not talking work.
100%.
Wise, talking personal, like, have we been productive enough with our time that we've had like free from work to feel happy to go back into work now?
Absolutely. I think it comes down to that a lot. So if you can relate, the next part of this episode is for you, and you can maybe tell us what it's like having a partner that's maybe suffering from this, and you can have think about what you could maybe do in that situation.
Yeah.
But I was looking, there isn't actually that much. There weren't many studies or things like this. I actually, the first place I learned the concept, I think, was on Headspace, which is the meditation app I use. Mm-hmm. And when I was looking up resources to try and learn more and prepare this episode, there is a video on Headspace that kind of takes you through how dealing with Sunday Scaries. And one of the things it said really changed my perspective, and I hope it'll make a difference. And one of the things they said was, obviously easier said than done, as with any mental work, but having meaning in our lives involves keeping a track of our tasks. So if you imagine the alternative, if you imagine the alternative where you don't have to do anything important tomorrow and you don't have any tasks to keep track of and you don't have that client to answer, the alternative is if you were to have no meaningful projects or relationships to maintain or anything like that, definitely a lot worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good point.
If you reframe what you're feeling, so this anxiety towards what you're having to keep track of tomorrow and what you're having to go back into, reframe of why are you doing that? What is that project important to you? Maybe I think that happens to a lot to people that are very busy or anxious, or when you have a friend that sent you a message and you really want to answer that message, but right now it's way too overwhelming and you just keep it on unread. It doesn't mean you don't love them. It just means that you're a bit overwhelmed right now to take the time to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it means that you have boundaries. What we were talking about with Isa, of like having boundaries of with your personal life as well. Like right now, I know that for myself, this is too overwhelming. So I'm going to just, put a boundary there, and I'll revisit when I'm not feeling so overwhelmed or whatever, or stressed or anxious or whatever.
Yeah. And then if you reframe that feeling of, I don't want to deal with that, or it's so much work to reply to that message or anything. Imagine the alternative of not having that person and not having that job. It may sound like a negative way to deal with it, but I think at the end of the day, you're relating a lot more positive feeling to the tasks ahead. So if you relate your career and your project or whatever you're stressing about, think about, why are you doing that? Why is that important to you? Or maybe it's just that it pays the bills so that you can go on a cool holiday and, try and relate the positive feeling to the tasks that are coming to try and reframe what's coming.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of looking at it with gratitude rather than with, what's the word? Just something like a burden, I guess. Yeah. Dread, whatever. To be like, I think the example of friends or family, I think, is a really good one of, when your brother or sister is being a real pain in the ass and you just cannot with them. But, if you kind of be like, well, I'm glad to have them in my life and I am grateful for them, just that right now, it's for whatever reason, it's just too much. But yeah, I think reframing it with gratitude, like you said, not easy like with anything, but I think it definitely helps you have a different perspective on it.
And then another one is trying to reframe time. So if we're talking about in the evenings, it happens to me so often. Like when I look at the clock at any time of the evening, my reaction is always, it's already PM.
Yeah. It's already so late.
It's already 10 p.m. And these are resources that I was looking into, and apparently, and I will report back, it can make a big difference in how your brain frames around time by just replacing that already to only. It's only 10 p.m. I still have time to relax and get a good night's sleep, And then the same on Sunday, for example, like look at the clock. Oh, it's only 2 p.m. I have the whole afternoon. This is great.
Yeah.
Or it's only 7 p.m. I still have time to chill or to do that thing. That can make a big difference in how your body reacts to the concept of time, which I think is a big one.
Yeah, I think in general, like what the conversation in your mind sounds like, I think can make such a difference on how we think, how we behave, how we react to things. And that reframing, I don't know if I've heard it. I doubt I've heard it specifically for Sunday Scaries, but I've heard that with time, when people get stressed out with time, and if people do, it's already so late, or it's already Sunday, or it's already, and rather than that, to go from kind of scarcity and then give it language of abundance instead makes such a difference, because you're telling your brain how to act, how to then transfer that into your body.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a thing that show people do. I remember when we were in dancing and singing and theater and all that, we would always try and trick our bodies into, I'm not nervous, I'm super chill.
Yeah.
And honestly, it makes a difference. A little bit.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think, it's a bit like, you know, when you see a little kid in a park and they fall over and they look at the parent to see how the parent reacts, to see how they should react. So I feel like if you're feeling a certain way and then your body's kind of reporting back to the brain of like, but should I feed into this or am I actually okay? If your brain goes, oh my God, no, panic, this is really bad, whatever, then you're going to kind of go down the rabbit hole basically. But if your brain is like, no, you're good, we've got this, we're good, I feel like it's easier for you to talk yourself out of it basically. And not cry.
Absolutely.
In the analogy of the kid.
Yeah. Or no analogy, you know.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen that situation. It is so funny. I mean, I remember like in our dance academy when we'd be be like assisting our teacher with younger groups. And one of them would fall over and they would look at the teacher and you can see them being like, if they make a big deal, I'm going to make a big deal. And our teacher would always be like, I know you're fine, come on, carry on. And they just get up and carry on. Whereas I've seen it with parents where they're like, oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? And then as they're making a fuss over the kid starts crying. And it's like, it's just so interesting. Yeah. I feel like we can do the same, within ourselves.
With our own brains. Yeah, and I guess from a partner's perspective, that's maybe something that you could try and work on is when you see the panic in their eyes.
Definitely. Maybe to try and reason. I guess also maybe just trying to think of like how you would help somebody who's going through it, which could also help you if you were going through it, to maybe make a list of everything you have gotten done, just to like prove to yourself, again, in the same kind of thing of like telling your brain how to react, to be like, it's going, I haven't got anything done today. You can sit down and say, you know, what have I achieved? This and this and that. And then maybe that would help.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely a resource that's out there as well. And how to kind of try and avoid Sunday Scaries is, like you say, being aware of what you have done for yourself that day or what you have done for work, depending on what you're feeling anxious about. Also, if it's more about personal time, I think is often the case for the concept itself. It's trying to schedule, I mean, what we were talking about last week, trying to schedule in throughout your day, even if it's 15 minutes, you can squeeze that in at your lunch break or something, time for yourself where you can do whatever you need to do for yourself that day or that morning. And just knowing that you've scheduled these moments in is going to make you less, I mean, it puts you more in control, doesn't it? It puts you more in control of your personal time.
Yeah. Actually, as we're talking, I can get this in like a bigger scale where I can get into the mindset of, which I think now this time of year is a good time of year. It's already September. Basically put pressure on myself that I haven't achieved as much as I wanted to this year. And that's why for me, sitting down and being like, what have I done this year? And actually be like, okay, go back to like New Year's this year and be like, okay, no, that was actually like 9 months ago. And a lot has happened in these 9 months. And like, to not, it helps to take the pressure off. So I don't know if that is the same kind of thing, because it feels similar, just at an even bigger like level of time, because it's the whole year. Yeah,
it's the same concept. At the end of the day, it's about what have we achieved, be that for ourselves, for our personal time, even if what you're counting in that, which is often the case for this concept, is you haven't been able to check your Instagram enough that day, you know, like just little things for yourself. You feel like you haven't been able to choose what you want to do that day. So often that can turn into, so if you are able to kind of journal what you have been able to do that day for yourself, whether it's book a train or anything. And
for my partner, something that he will very often say at the end of the day is I haven't even had a chance to shower today. Like, that's how like full on, like full engines I've been going, that I haven't even had the chance to shower. And that's, you know, again, seems like something so basic, but it's something, yeah. Like, I wanted to shower today because I needed to, you know, shave my beard or whatever. Guys, be clean in the shower. Yeah. And I haven't even like had a chance yet, you know, and that is crazy. Like, it's a crazy concept because that's such a like necessity.
And it's not already 10 p.m.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's regaining that control. What else? Making something I saw. I would love to tell where I saw it for the credits, but I can't remember for the life of me the name of the person I watched the YouTube video on. But I will look that up and put it down below because it was a very interesting video. But one of the things that she said is, if you imagine your Wednesday you, so the you on the following Wednesday, looking back at the you on Sunday, what would they say? They would say, hey, girl, chill out. You're not working. Yeah. You've got the evening off. Yeah. Make the most of it. I've got this covered. Yeah. Don't worry. Yeah. I'm dealing with Wednesday. I did Monday. I did Tuesday. And I'm doing Wednesday. And it's so true. And like, I tried that today because obviously I was feeling it Sunday afternoon, evening this week. And I look back now and I'm like, useless, stupid. Yeah. Don't do that to yourself. It's of no productivity whatsoever. It's absolutely counterproductive, and you have an evening to enjoy. So don't do that. So if on the Sunday you try and imagine the Wednesday you.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I feel like, because it's what they say, hindsight is a wonderful thing. But I feel like with things like that, it's predictable because it's weekly. So you can almost predict the hindsight, like you're saying, you know? So I think that is a really good tip. Predict the hindsight.
Imagine the person, the you with the hindsight.
Yeah.
So that's one. Another one is like to plan, but not to overthink, so not to overplan. So you could do a bit of, it depends on what gets you going, but you could do some meal prep. So figuring out what meals you're going to cook that week, just so you have that thing less to kind of weigh on your brain. You could maybe plan the next day's outfit. You could block out. I think this is a big one, is spending, I mean, this comes a lot into play with what we were talking about last week, but spending time with people you love, that's can really take away the Sunday Scaries part of it, because one, you're spending your time doing something with someone, so you're not worried about, am I making the most of this evening? Because obviously you're spending it with people you love, and usually that's the thing that people have the least problem appreciating, knowing that it's worth your while. And also it just takes your mind off it, so you're not thinking about the fact that tomorrow's Monday. So I think a kind of a traditional Sunday family dinner that I think is the case in so many cultures, it's so healthy.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, what you were saying about the like plan without it feeling like a second job almost. I feel like for me, when I'm feeling in that, maybe for whatever reason, kind of state of like, I want to do something, but I don't know what, it can be really hard to be creative. I also like come up with, okay, what to actually do. Whereas if I've got a plan, then I know that I'll do it. And I feel like then it's easier to take advantage of the day, kind of thing. It kind of happens with me a lot with food. It sounds weird, but I need to, if I don't think about what I'm eating until I'm really hungry, I can't.
It's pasta.
I can't. It's pasta and tomato sauce. Like, I literally, like, it happened today. And this is a good thing about both me and my partner working from home, because I was stood there in the kitchen looking so miserable because I'm like, I'm just hungry and I'm too hungry to think about what I want to make. And he was like, go sit down, I'll make it.
Aww.
But so I feel I can be a bit like that with, like, if I've got a free day and I haven't planned anything for that free day, it could end up kind of not getting filled with anything, just kind of, just doing bits and bobs, but I haven't really properly cleaned because I didn't set out that I was going to clean. I haven't met up with someone because I hadn't arranged it, so no one's available. I haven't, and then by the end of the day, I'm like, well, that was a waste of a free day. So to like kind of not plan it, but to have an idea, even if it's just in your head of like, well, my free day, I'm gonna, even if it is clean the house, but then it's like, I don't know. For me, that works because when I'm in it, I can just be really undecisive. Whereas planning it, I have no issue in planning it.
God, yeah. I mean, that's a massive subject, and I think we'll do a whole episode about what you do with your personal time and how you feel about when you're being productive and how you do all that. But it obviously has a massive role because that's how you're in control of your personal time.
Yeah.
So yeah, making a bit of a plan can take some of that mental weight off because you know what's coming. You know, it takes the daunting out of it, and you're like, okay, it's okay this week. I can totally do this week because I've figured out what I'm going to eat, so that doesn't matter. I can chill a bit more after work, whatever. And then a big one is giving yourself, listen up guys, this is a big one, giving yourself permission to relax. And for this, you need to go and listen to our last episode about how to switch off, and it's so important.
Yeah. And I think it's also to know that I don't know in which episode of the season we said it, but that self-care can look a lot of different ways, and relaxing and switching off and doing whatever can also look like self-care. I think it might have been in the second episode that I was saying about how, for me, when I'm feeling really tired, rather than just going to bed and then feeling like I've wasted the evening because I've gone to bed early, I try to turn it into a self-care routine where I really like pamper myself and do stuff. And it's okay to like not it be super productive, but at least you feel like you've still taken care of yourself, done something.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it can register as something that's productive because you've done it for yourself. You've chosen to give yourself permission to relax that evening, and you've made a thing out of it. You've lit some candles. You've done your face care. You know?
Yeah.
Exactly. So you've given yourself permission to relax that evening. So that's a big part of it. Give yourself permission to relax on a Sunday evening if you don't have any other plans, like having your family come over for dinner or something like that.
Yeah.
And it can really help with the anxiety of the next day because you're still thinking about the present. So obviously mindfulness is a big one, but we've said that a million times.
Yes.
So other resources, other resources I came across did say set up a bedtime wind down, turn off your devices 30 minutes earlier. So it's all these things to try and like micro habits to give yourself more of time to switch off and give your brain a rest and enjoy the last hours of your Sunday rather than spending them worrying about Monday, which makes no sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's kind of my experience with these topics and the resources I found, which I haven't tested yet. So I will come back with a report on how that goes.
Yeah, definitely do. I'm excited to know. And also just something there that you were saying about the micro habits, which also I think ties into what we were talking about in last week's episode about switching off. In general, for creating habits, I saw this once ages ago, that something that really helps to implement, because I know it can get a bit overwhelming with all these like habits that people recommend that are healthy, is to make it turn the micro habits into a routine. So basically that one leads into the other. So for example, people say that it's really good to, as soon as you wake up, have a herbal tea because you're hydrating, and as it's warm, then it's easier for your body to absorb it, blah, blah, blah. So I make myself a herbal tea to then go meditate. And, that like one thing leads into the other. And then like to do that with lots of other things. So like at night, switching off your phone to then not think about stuff for half an hour before bed, you can now be like, and now what? So if you turn off your phone to do something else, and like, whether that be shower, because you've got to leave your phone anyway, and then when you come out the shower, you then do something else and you turn it into a bit of a routine, it can be so much easier to incorporate these kind of healthy habits. Because I remember at some point I was like, I'm feeling so overwhelmed trying to do all these things and it just doesn't fit into the day. I can't figure out a way to make it feel like it's natural, basically. And turning
just doesn't feel very healthy.
No, exactly. Putting pressure on myself always. It always comes down to that. But turning it into kind of like a chain of things that kind of one thing leads into the other really helps. And I think that would also work for whatever you decide to do that we were talking about in the switching off episode of when you're turning off for work, you do one thing that then leads to another, to another, to another. And it just makes it easier also for your brain to be like, oh, as I'm doing this, I know that I'm then doing this and this and this. And yeah.
I really like that. I think I'll try and implement that in all of the healthy habits that I would like to install. Because I can definitely relate to making the tea to then go meditate. And in a way, it helps with both, because you're like, okay, I'm going to go meditate, so I'm going to make my tea. And now that I'm making my tea, of course I'm going to go meditate, because I'm not going to make tea and not meditate.
And not meditate. Well, I was going to sit here and drink it. Yeah, exactly. Definitely. So that's just like really a really... Like that. Yeah, it's a really like basic example, but it's crazy how much it helps. And then you then look forward to one thing, which makes you look forward to the next thing, and it makes it just so much easier.
Nice. So I have 2 questions that have come from our listeners on the topic.
Let's have them.
Awesome. Let's see what we think. So question number 1 is, my boss loves early Monday meetings. Should I tell him this is illegal for my mental health, or just drink more coffee? This is super interesting because it's something that I had kind of thought of going into in the episode, which is what you think a manager could do. So what do you think companies can do to try and avoid their employees having these Sunday scaries or anxiety related to the upcoming week? What do you think?
Yeah, it feels like it makes sense to have like all the meetings in the morning on a Monday, and especially like team meetings to like organize the week, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think it's the most productive way to do it, because I do feel like it would just cause unnecessary kind of, stress and dread. A client that I had, they did 2 different clients actually. One was a real estate company and the other one was a home care company. And they both had their meetings, like team meetings, to like see how everyone was doing and stuff on the Tuesday morning rather than the Monday morning. And I wonder if that has anything to do with it. I feel like that does make a lot more sense. I feel like to be able to do that, you've got to have some organizational thing going on so that people still have direction on the Monday and it doesn't feel like a lost day. But yeah, I don't think starting the week off being pushed into meetings is really going to be the most productive.
Yeah, I totally agree. I have Monday weekly meetings, but they are at, I think, 10:15. Which honestly makes the world of difference, because when I get to work at 8 a.m., I'm chill, you know? I like go through my emails. I remember what I was working on Friday, because obviously I switched off for the weekend, which we know I'm very good at. And
exactly, as you should be.
And then, so I catch up, I figure out, okay, what did I do last week to then tell the team about during my weekly? What am I planning for this week? It works. I have the time to do that without too much stress, which I think makes a big difference. If it were Monday at 8 a.m., oh my God, that would be horrible.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to walk in on the Monday, like you were saying, how when you get off your train and walking to the office, you don't think about work. You wouldn't be able to do that because, like you're saying, you don't know what you're working about on Friday. So you would already, before even going to the office, be thinking, wait, what do I even have to like bring up at this meeting? It just, would make no sense. I just don't think it's when you're going to get your employees to be the most engaged and giving any kind of feedback, good or bad, to be honest.
Absolutely. I mean, I think at the beginning of the week is good to have people to make a plan for the week. Yeah. But honestly, you could also do that on Friday. You could plan your next week's work. So maybe Friday would be a good day to do a weekly meeting, because people are happier as well because it's Friday.
Yeah. So maybe try and rally up other team members to bring it up to your manager or boss as a suggestion.
Yeah.
We feel like these meetings would work better if...
Yeah. I think even just calls it was super funny. I got a message from my co-founder. I think it was yesterday or the day before. And he starts quite early. So he likes to start work pretty early, like maybe 7:30, 7:45. So he's often already working when I got to the office. And he sent me a message at 8:05 saying, quick call, or is it too early? I love that. Like,
yeah, just because you're there doesn't mean I am.
Yeah, but also, you know, he knows that I'm in office from 8 a.m. But to kind of consider that maybe I'm not quite ready to, deal with the day's problems, or maybe I haven't quite been through my emails and I'm not up to date. Like, I think that's really cool to maybe, as a manager, give your employees at least half an hour of their morning to catch up, to have their coffee, to get in the mood before you start asking things of them. I think that could make a big difference in the anxiety of the next day.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's it.
Yeah. Hope we answered your question.
Yeah. Either ask your manager to give you some time in the morning, whether it's half an hour or an hour. And if you're going to do flipping early Monday meetings, give you some time to prep.
Yeah.
And then our second question is, I quit my last job because of constant Sunday dread, but now I feel it creeping into my new one too. Is this a sign I just don't like working at all?
That's a funny question. Funny way to phrase it.
Yeah. I think it's super interesting. It kind of comes down to the stat that I read that I found really interesting was that 50% of happy workers also experience Sunday dread. So I think it's a lot more about how you personally deal with your balance in life, your work-life balance, and how you conceive your working week more than the work itself, I would say.
Yeah, totally.
So maybe you need to do some work.
Yeah.
Personal work.
Yeah, I think it comes down to how you feel when you're actually in work. So something that I think it's mum says a lot is that there's no point in worrying about something twice. So there's no point in worrying about something before it happens, and then when it does happen, if it happens, and it's funny, for example, it's so easy to get yourself into a state before the things even happened. And then when you're doing it, it's not actually that bad. So you mentioned before when we would dance on stage, for example. When we were actually on stage, we always had so much fun. So it was before we actually got on stage, to try and calm ourselves down, because when we were actually in it, we actually enjoyed it. So when you're in work, are you enjoying it? Are you in flow? Are you, just having a good, productive work day? Or are you still feeling that way? I think that's what it comes down to. I don't think quitting because of the Sunday Scaries is maybe the way to go. There's nothing else wrong with
If it's because you're burnt out because of work, then absolutely. Yeah. But it might be some personal work you have to do.
Yeah.
Because I'm very happy in my job right now, and I still suffer Sunday Scaries.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So I know that's a me problem.
Also, when you were talking at some point, what came to my mind was when I take my dog to the vet. So somehow he knows that he's going to the vet, and he works himself up. He starts shaking. He sometimes even pees himself a little bit. And it's this being so dreading it. And then sometimes we go to the vet for a checkup where nothing happens and he walks out fine and happy. Other times, it's more serious. Maybe it's the not knowing. It's the not knowing what's coming, but you have no choice. And that's what causes anxiety. I don't know. Yeah, that just the vision of my little dog knowing he has to go to the vet and having a total panic attack when there's actually no reason to panic came to mind while we were talking.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's actually also something else I read that I haven't mentioned is framing your work week differently. Like telling yourself, well, maybe work this week will be great. Maybe I'm going to have great opportunities and learn something new and find something for myself. And actually also something that your mum would say that I use a lot, especially for writing, but not only, so for lots of things in life, is imagine you doing that really well. Like imagine so if you're talking about writing, imagine getting on and everything going great.
Yeah.
It's going to set you up psychologically for so much more success than if you imagine everything going wrong.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So apply the same. And then putting things into perspective. You have that job because hopefully, because you chose that job and because you enjoy it, maybe just a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So think about those bits. And you're lucky to have that job and it's bringing you opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. Try and think of all the good things that might come out of the week rather than all the bad things that might come out of the week.
And for all of that, you've got to be aware of what you're feeling. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Exactly. Giving you free therapy.
Or I'm just giving myself free therapy.
Yeah, we definitely are giving ourselves free therapy. Let's be honest.
Right. Well, that's a wrap up. I hope you enjoyed the topic. I hope you didn't relate. But if you did, I hope it was useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like I didn't think I was going to relate. And then there's definitely parts of my life where I do get the same kind of feeling. So I feel like, we are very complex and are very good at working ourselves into states. So I think a lot of the things talked about today can be applied to lots of different things. So, yeah.
I actually think it's so cool to hear that you haven't experienced this and that you don't experience this. And with the same contrast of our last episode where I'm pretty good at shutting off my brain from work stuff and maybe you less so. So I think here, maybe even more so than last season, we can see a real contrast in just how our brains work, even though we live very similar lives, even though the situation's a bit different, how that changes, how just our physiology and our psychology changes how we experience the world.
100%. It's so interesting. And I feel like with every episode we do, we get like more ideas of other episodes that we've got to do. This might be a long season, guys.
Also, let us know if there's anything you want us to talk about. We'd love to talk about topics that you're interested in. Maybe something that we haven't thought of and therefore we'll learn even more. So write to us on any of our social media, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. What else we got? Email.
Yeah, We Will Manage Podcast everywhere. So please let us know, because it would be really interesting for us as well if we haven't thought of something to, because I feel like everything that we have thought about, once we've started doing the research, there's been so much more that we've uncovered that we didn't realize was there. So I feel like with any topic that would kind of happen. So definitely let us know.
Absolutely. So I guess we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us once again.
Thank you very much. And look at us keeping the episodes short.
You never know how much I'm going to cut out.